Hi, this is Rahim Zulfikarali from Excel Basement, and in this extensive or comprehensive tutorial we will learn how to create advanced sales analytical dashboard using Microsoft Excel Power Pivot and applying data analysis expressions and visualizations in detail, and we will be creating this entire dashboard. So let's get started. I will be covering some fundamentals first, that how we proceed and what are those important concepts which a novice user must understand before doing the practical of creating dashboard in Excel. So we will be going through some fundamental concepts of applying DAX in Excel and understanding some visualization rules in this comprehensive tutorial. And the next part will be how to get started with creating a dashboard. So the first thing first, what is DAX? So if you are primarily a new user who will be using Power Pivot ribbon in the Excel or applying DAX, so let's start with a basic definition. Data analysis expressions is the native formula and query language for Microsoft Power Pivot, Power BI Desktop, and SQL Server Analysis Services tabular models. So this definition has been extracted from the Wikipedia. So just like you can think of, if you are already using Microsoft Excel and you apply some formulas or a function like VLOOKUP, sum, if, average. So similarly, the DAX is being used inside the Power Pivot and it's a native formula language. So primarily some of the Excel functions you will find them similar in DAX, but some of them are entirely different. So it's a good language to learn. Let's understand one more definition. Data analysis expressions is a formal expression language used in analysis services, Power BI, and Power Pivot in Excel. Now the key advantage for the user is if the user is learning DAX language in Excel and later on or in future the user start using Microsoft Power BI for dashboard, so the user don't need to start learning DAX from the very start because the language is entirely same. So that's the biggest advantage of Microsoft applications ecosystem, that whatever you will be learning within particular in DAX and Power Pivot in Excel, that will work out for you exactly same in the Power BI, right? So that's the advantage. So directly or indirectly, when you learn DAX with all the concepts from basic to advanced, that gives you advantage. Either you are a user of Power BI or within the Power Pivot in Excel, you can work in both the application very easily. So further with this definition, DAX formulas include functions, operators, and values to perform advanced calculations and queries on data in related tables and columns in tabular data models. So this definition has been extracted from Microsoft Learn platform. In simple words, DAX is a formula language used in Microsoft Power BI and Excel to create custom calculations and aggregation in a data model. So I hope with this particular simple definition now you can understand what is DAX and why we will be using DAX. Further, it allows you to perform data analysis, data modeling, and data manipulation tasks such as creating calculated columns, calculated tables, and measures. DAX expressions are used to perform operations on the data and can be based on simple mathematical operations or more complex logic. So these are the basic points you need to understand as a fundamental user first, and then we will proceed towards the more advanced concepts. When you create Power Pivot inside Microsoft Excel, you will find something like this. When you create some explicit measures and you put DAX into the Power Pivot window for your own customized calculation, and when you make the Power Pivot, you will find these kind of symbols like FX. This means that these fields has been created by a user as an explicit measure, and that contains the DAX inside it. Okay, and you can just drag and drop in the pivot table values area where you like. The next concept is about the measure. So as I told you, these FX fields is known as a measure. So let's read the basic fundamental definition first. So measures are calculations used in data analysis. Examples commonly found in business reports that include sum, average, minimum, maximum, values, counts, or more advanced calculations that you create using a data analysis expressions formula. So primarily there are two kinds of measures. The first one is implicit measure and the second one is explicit measure. Okay, but I hope you understood with this basic definition that what is measure. You can name measures whatever you want and add them to a new or existing visualization just like any other field. So now let's discuss what are different kind of measures. The one is implicit, the other one is explicit. So the implicit measures are the built-in calculations which you find in pivot table whenever you drag and drop the values fields in the values area, and it has been automatically defined based on the numeric columns, and you can have by default sum in your pivot tables. You can change it to the average, count, max, or min, or any other by default calculation which is available. So the user don't write anything by itself, but it is by the system, it's by the application which is being there. So when you drag those fields and it automatically gives you the numbers on the pivot table, so those are called implicit measures. So what is explicit measures? Basically in the explicit measure the user first defines a name. That could be any name, that could be any customized name. It interacts based on filter context, and any complex calculation which a user needs to define to solve the business problem is, and to get the number from the data, you put the explicit measure inside the Power Pivot window. Okay, and that contains the DAX language. Okay, so the example is giving, for example, if you want to calculate the margin percentage, so the user needs to basically drive its own logic, and that can be stored as an explicit measure with the help of DAX in it. Furthermore, the explicit measures are more flexible. Now what is mean by that? So while implicit measures can support some basic scenarios like sum, average, count, okay, so as soon as your report needs more complex calculations, you need to switch towards the explicit measures. So whenever you want to create your own logic to get the number from the data, the user needs to create an explicit measure, and they are flexible. However, the main advantage of using explicit measure is that they can be reused. So implicit measures cannot be reused, but explicit measures can be reused inside another explicit measure, and we will look at when we're doing the practical part. Now how it looks like, I mean, if you want to imagine that how the implicit or explicit measure look like in the Power Pivot, so this image gives you a clear idea. So in the pivot table, when you drag a field like amount into the values area, it generates the sum by default, and you can change it to average or count. So this is known as implicit measure. So when you drag and drop that field into the values area, it gives you some calculations, right? That is being done by the system. But if you go to the Power Pivot window and you create an explicit measure where you define the logic, when the user writes the logic, either it's simple or complex, that is known as explicit measure, and that can be reused as well, right? Now the next concept is related to the calculated column and measure. So measure we have already discussed. Now, but what is calculated column and how they look like? So a calculated column belongs to a single table, while a measure belongs to whole data model. So now you can imagine that if you have two columns, something like you have the quantity in one column and then unit price in the other column, and you want to add a third column which basically multiplies those two values like quantity by unit price and gives you an amount. So the additional column when you add into a certain table is known as a calculated column, and that calculation runs raw by raw. While when you create an explicit measure, you at the back end, when you create a data model, like if you are creating a star schema or snowflake schema or any, or even if you have a flat file, or if you have a more than one table like dimension or a fact table, and when you create the relationship, so whenever in any of the table, when you create an explicit measure there, when you start writing DAX, you can call any table, any column from any table. So measure belongs to the whole data model. Okay. Furthermore, a calculated column is evaluated in a raw context, means when you add additional column in a certain table, that calculation runs raw by raw, while a measure is evaluated as in filter context, because in the measure we can call out any column from the table, from multiple tables or multiple columns. So when we use that particular number as an explicit measure, that works on a backend as a filter context. Okay, so this is one of the easy example to distinguish between how in the Power Pivot it looks like. So a calculated column, as you can see on the right side, there are two additional columns which has been added, a net sell price column and the order amount. You can also distinguish between when the data is being imported into the Power Pivot, the headers are in green color, whereas the calculated column which is created by the user are in the black headers. And when you create the calculated column, the calculation is running raw by raw. As an explicit measure, the bottom area of this Power Pivot window, which contains some blank cells where you can create some explicit measures, and you can add your own customized calculation with the help of a DAX. Okay, so I hope now you can distinguish between a calculated column and explicit measure. So in the databases, sometimes we need to create calculated column for our required information to get that number, and most of the times we use to create explicit measure that can be later on create in the that can be later on use in the Power Pivot. Okay. Another concept we need to learn that about the star schema overview. When you import multiple data sets from multiple sources or different kind of files together in the Power Pivot, for example, if you're importing data from multiple Excel files or Microsoft Access or Notepad files, and you are creating a kind of a data warehouse. So the user, when importing all the data together from different sources, the user needs to create a schema. Either it's a star schema or a snowflake schema. Okay. Now what is a schema? Basically a schema joins all the tables together so that the information could be exchanged, and that could be created with the help of a relationship, and the relationship has of different types like one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. But that picture in which you can imagine if we have certain tables and when we try to connect them with the help of relationship, that particular thing is known as a schema, and we have given the name, the one of the most common schema which we create as a data model is a star schema. When the data is complex, when there are more dimension tables connecting with each other, and when there are more fact tables, kind of a complexity, then it from the star schema it converts into a snowflake schema as well. So if we start learning what is star schema, so let's learn. Star schema is a mature modeling approach widely adopted by the relational data warehouses. It's required modelers to classify their model tables as either dimension or fact. So whatever we will be importing the data sets, we have to classify that what are those dimension tables available and what are the fact tables inside our schema. Okay, and I will tell you how to recognize that. So dimension tables describe the business entities, the things you model. So entities could include that all the information of the products in one table containing the unique records. Okay, remember that. About the people in terms of customers or in terms of employees, about the places where they are doing their businesses, and the other concepts or a calendar table or time itself. Okay, so all this unique information pertain to different business entities can be stored as a dimension table. The most consistent table you will find in a star schema is a date dimension table. A dimension table contains a key column or columns that acts as a unique identifier and descriptive columns. Okay. Let's talk about the fact tables. So fact tables store the observations or events. So it's very easy now to learn. Fact tables primarily stores observations or events. It could be financial or non-financial. And the examples are, it could be sales orders, stock balances, exchange rates, temperatures, etc. So a fact table contains a dimension key columns that can relate to dimension tables and numeric measure columns. Further, the dimension key columns determine the dimensionality of a fact table, while the dimension key values determine the granularity of a fact table. So if you take an example of an HR data set, so the first column might be relate to the employee ID and then start expanding that table. Or if you look at the example of sales table, so might be the first primary key would be the order ID, or it could be start from a date. Okay. So now this is the significant difference between a dimension table and a fact table. And this differentiate will give you furthermore understanding about how to distinguish between them. So first is the model purpose. As I told you that the dimension table defines the business entities like date, products, people, and concepts. The table structure contains descriptive columns and has a key dimension unique column as well. The dimension tables contains the unique records, not duplicates. Overall, the data type is relatively small as compared to the fact table. So you will not find millions of rows in a dimension table. It could be like in thousands normally. How it could be utilized? The dimension table used as a filter or grouping in the dashboards. And similar to fact tables stores the observations or events. Okay, and it's used to summarize. Basically, it contains a large information because it contains a real time information, and a level of detail is very high in it. Now, how the star schema looks like. So a fact table is in the center, which stores the business observations or events, and it is supported by the additional information which is being stored in the dimension table, and it could be the information of products, customers, employees, regions or places, or any other thing, right? And it looks like relatively a standard is like a fact table is one, and there are more than 2, 3, 4, 5 dimension tables which being connected with the help of a relationship, and you can see it's one to many. Okay. Another example. So these are this example is for the sales. So we have the sales data, which is the real-time observations, and it being supported by the other dimension tables which needs to connect with a relationship. Another example how the relationship schemas look like. So one fact table with a single level of dimension fields. Snowflake, one fact table with multiple levels of dimension fields. And if we combine them and make it more complex, where we have more than 2, 3, 4 fact tables and dimension tables, so it could be converted as a galaxy or fact consultation. So it likes multiple fact tables linked with by common dimension fields. Okay. Now, how to create a relationship, how to recognize it? Let's look at this example. So we have a table here which consists of 4 columns: student ID, first name, last name, and course ID. And we have another table which contains 2 columns like course ID and course name. Now the user needs to distinguish that what is the dimension table and which one is the fact table. So primarily at the bottom, this is the dimension table which contains all the information related to the course ID and names, and which does not have any duplicate. Whereas if you look at the first table, the course ID column contains the duplicates information because definitely it's a fact table which contains the observations, and it's based on each of the student is taking the admission in one of the course, and that's probably in each class there are more than one student, so the course ID will get repeating in it. Now, how to create a relationship? We have identified that the first table is a fact table and the second one is the dimension. Now it's time to create a relationship. So for creating a relationship, you have to identify a common column which is available in both the tables. Okay, so the course ID is a column which is available in both the tables, and that will help us to create a relationship. Okay, now when we identified the common table and we have tried to create a relationship, the next step is that when this is a dimension table which contains a unique records, and the common column in the dimension table will be known as a primary key, and the similar column which is available in the fact table will be known as a foreign key. Okay, now when you start creating the dashboard, you always start having your workings first, not directly into the application, but as in you do have a piece of paper, try to create design on that what you want on the dashboard, and try to discuss with your boss that we are creating this particular dashboard and we need your approval. If the design is suitable and you need all those things which is necessary for the audience who will be using this dashboard and make the decisions later on, so that gets and saves your time initially in creating dashboard designs. If you not follow this particular thing, what you will be doing is you will be using your brain to create a design of your own, and later on when your boss try to review it, he will make you certain and all multiple changes which will gives you a time consuming activity or pain points. So in initial stage, you need to take a piece of paper, try to create a sketch, bring your own mind, discuss with some senior colleagues, try to finalize the design on a piece of paper, and then start applying it on the application, either it's Excel or any other thing. Okay, now we start with the designing rules, because we will be creating a dashboard, and that's we need to also learn some designing rules as well. So the first rule when you create dashboards in Microsoft Excel or Power BI or Tableau, anywhere, you start with a CRAP rule. So a design principle developed by Robin Patricia Williams stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. By leveraging CRAP, you can constantly deliver effective designs, whether it's for a website, a landing page, a checkout page, an ebook, or a banner ad, or either it's a dashboard in Microsoft Excel. So going forward, we will be exploring that how to apply CRAP. First we will understand it, how to apply it, and then we will be using that CRAP rule in the dashboard as well. Alright, so let's start learning the CRAP rule. So C stands for contrast. Now let's look at what are the tips and tricks which contrast can give you. Now you can see that there are 4 boxes visible on the screen, and now you have to divert the attention of your audience to the specific box first. So what are those techniques? So the first one is to fill the color. That will looks like very different, and the user will definitely see the different thing first. So instead of looking at the third box or fourth box first, the user will look the different thing. The next is to create a border for that particular object, or you can do some formatting tips and tricks. The third one is to change the shape. So one is triangle and the other are squares, so definitely it will look different. Another way is to make a bigger size. So the technique is for the size. Then the orientation. So this is top to bottom approach. And the last one is the distance. As you can see, the one box is far from the other 3 boxes. So these are the techniques where you can draw the attention of the user to this specific object first on your dashboard by changing its color, thickness, shape, size, position, or distance. Then the next is the repetition. So you can see there is a dashboard on the screen, and what kind of a repetition which you observe. So the repetition in terms of colors, as you can see that there is a theme color which has been used. The repetition in the fonts, so all the fonts which are written as the headers, titles, or the description are just a one single kind of a font. The consistency or the repetition of the visualizations, like you can see 2 donut charts, 2 bar charts, or 3 bar charts, and there is a pattern, a specific repetition of the ideas and the visualization, right? So repetitions is related to the color, elements, fonts, or ideas. Then alignment. Whenever you place certain objects on your dashboard, you need to align it properly, because if you don't align it, it looks like a mess and your attention, or you distract by the distances between the objects. So you cannot focus on the object specifically. The next is the proximity. So proximity refers to the visual search, means that when you finish making your dashboard, your eyes and if you are a subject matter expertise, you will be looking for the information within the dashboard so that it could make a sense to it. So you can see the bird eye view or the helicopter view of your entire business, that what is overall happening, and further you can click on slicer and drill down for further analysis. So proximity gives you a visual search and shows you the information. And more advanced, you can add the data storytelling in your dashboard, which also a part of proximity, to give the user an idea that what is going and happening inside the business. Then in the visualization, there is also a concept of pre-attentive attributes. Now what are those? They help us to enable our audience to see what we want them and to see before they even knowing they are seeing it. So basically that diverts the attention or making it more focus on the dashboard in terms of showing them the numbers, showing them the key numbers in terms of context or the variance analysis, or in terms of some good visualizations. Further, pre-attentive attributes are hardwired within our visual system and apply to just about everything that we can visually perceive. This concept of pre-attentive visual properties can be applied to data visualizations in order to more effectively communicate what we want our data to show. So here are some of the examples of pre-attentive attributes. So they relates to changing of orientation, the length of that specific information, the width, size, shape, curvature, added marks, enclosure, color value, color hue, positioning, spatial grouping. Okay. Another example of pre-attentive attributes, which we have already discussed. Some of them are discussed in the CRAP rule. Some of them are related to the color category, positioning category, motions, and a form category. So these are the examples which you can add in your dashboard. So this is the specific dashboard which we will be creating from the very basic till the advanced in our today's this comprehensive tutorial, and I hope you will be learning a lot of things related to Excel tips and tricks, and also be exploring Microsoft Power Pivot and using the DAX. So first, also discuss the some of the designing rules before we proceed to the practical part. So here I will give you 10 designing rules or suggestions. So when you start creating a dashboard report, you start with a design with a specific goal in mind. So what kind of a problem that dashboard will be solving for the business, or what kind of things you want to show, and who is the target audience. So definitely when you start creating any kind of a report or dashboard in Excel or Power BI or any other application, you start with a specific goal. Because if there is no goal of creating a dashboard report, this means that you are not addressing any kind of issue or problem solving part, and you are just doing some crunching with the numbers and adding visualizations for no longer use. So have the specific goal in mind. Number two is dashboard will be on a single page. Probably if you are creating some financial models or financial reports or MIS reports, that could go more than on one page, but whenever you talk about the dashboard reporting, that could be on a single page. Either you create it on Excel, BI, or any other application. Third is align the elements. So if you're using some text boxes for the headings or for the formatting part, or giving a fancy look, or you are adding some charts, visualizations, slicers, align those elements properly. Be consistent with the design in terms of colors, fonts, and charts ideas, which I just give you an example. So whenever you create the dashboard for your organization, you will be applying the theme colors, which is a part of your organization. Highlight the most relevant information, like you can show the maximum value with a different color or a minimum value different color, profit, loss, or any other thing. So you need to decide that what are those relevant information and highlight it differently. Shorten the numbers. For example, when you take the data that contains a very big number, so if your business is doing sales in millions and billions, try to make a standard report, and whatever the visualizations you show or the numbers you show on your dashboard could be on a single pattern. Either all the numbers should be in millions or billions, as you like, okay, so that it could be readable easily for the user. Seventh one is to choose the right colors as the theme colors. Pick the right charts, one of the most important part, because if you don't pick the right charts, it will give you the wrong perception or perceiving that kind of a visual, and you can take the wrong decisions. So always pick the right charts, and I will give you an example that how to pick the right charts. Number 9 is dashboard should present data storytelling for easy decision making. So you should be adding some narrations in your with the visualizations, or a kind of an explanation, kind of a summary, as well as some good visualizations. Show the context. Don't put only the actual numbers. Try to add actual versus budget or actual versus forecast, or do some variance analysis. Furthermore, if you are an advanced user and you are using some BI tools like Power BI or even Excel, so you can do some descriptive analytics or predictive analytics later on. So that will also add the context. If you want to know more about me, or if you want to connect with me, you can visit on my website. It's www.rahimzulfikarali.com, where you will find all my work which I have done so far in the field of Microsoft technologies like Excel, Power BI, and other applications. So I can give you consultancy or training exclusively in your organization or online as well. So you can connect with me from this platform. Moreover, if you want to explore my content regarding the videos, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, that is Excel Basement, and you can start learning about Excel, Power BI, Power Query, dashboard reporting, even Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. All those courses are available. Okay, so now we will be learning that how to create this specific sales analytical dashboard in Microsoft Excel with the help of Power Pivot and DAX. Okay, so if I give you a demonstration, you can see there is a design, and I have put some slicers on top, and the KPIs, these have been extracted with the help of explicit measures. We have put some DAX. Then we have visualizations. Okay, there is also a sheet called workings, so I will show you how to work on it. So if I click on any of the field in the slicer, you can see that entire dashboard will get updated, right? and if I can click on any of the specific quarter, and for example for 2010, so we are seeing 2010 for Q3, that is July, August, September. You can change it to like 2011 Q2, that is April, May and June. So on single click, your entire dashboard is being basically dynamic, and that is being created on the backend with the help of Power Pivot. And let's get started how to complete this dashboard. Okay, so I will have this one blank file. We will start from very basic so that every user can understand, and then we will be finishing at like this particular dashboard. So you need Power Pivot ribbon or tab in your Excel version. So Power Pivot is available for almost all the versions, but not for Excel 2007 and before. So you can find Excel in Excel 2010, 13, 16, 2019 version, Excel 365 as well. In 2016 you will find in professional version, but not in home or enterprise edition. So there are some quite limitation in terms of office editions as well with respect to versions, but in most of the versions the Power Pivot is being available. Sometimes it's visible or it's not, so you need to enable that add-in as well. I am using Microsoft Office Excel 2021 and with the Office 365 subscription, so it's available with me. Alright, so let's get started. I will click on Manage icon and it will open up a new window that is for the Power Pivot, where we will be creating the we will be importing the data from multiple sources. Alright, so this is the entirely blank window of Power Pivot. So let's start importing data from different kind of files. So first we will add some Excel files. So I will click on this icon that is called from other sources. So it will open up a window that is table import wizard. So I will scroll down and I will select Excel file. So I will click on next. Then I need to browse that location. So I have already copied that Excel file, that is products data. Open, make sure that you check mark on used first choice column headers as a check mark. Click on next. Now you need to select the table, not the sheet. So primarily whenever you import any Excel file and you being shown like either you select a sheet or a table, you will select a table instead of a sheet. Okay, so I will select products, which is stored inside this Excel workbook in the sheet as products. You can also click on preview and filter button, and if you want anything which you don't want to import, for example if you don't want to have the product subcategory, you can uncheck, or even if you want to have this column but not specifically any field within this column, so you can just uncheck that field. That will exclude in the process. Okay, so you can use this interface. What the user is basically required to import the data at the initial stages. Primarily this is the user interface. The other thing is that sometimes user brings the data from SQL Server, where the user writes SQL and try to add all those columns or exclude those columns through script or programming. But here in the Power Pivot we have this feature that is preview and filter, where the user can think of it that what are those fields which needs to be import or not. Okay, so click OK and then click on finish. So all the rows will be successfully imported. Click on close, and now you can see there is a data which you can see on your Power Pivot window, right? Now we need to import the other Excel files as well with the similar process. So let's get start and do it. We will click on from other sources. We will go to Excel file as a type, browse that location. So we have brought the products data already. Now this time we will bring in regions data, and remember that this products data regions data, the stores data, all are dimension tables because it contains the unique information related to that business segment. Okay, so regions data, click on open, make sure that you check mark on use first row as column headers, click on next. Okay, so select that the table which is regions, click on finish, close. Now you can see that an additional tab is being added inside your Power Pivot window, which recognize as a data from other Excel sheet, right? Other Excel workbook. Similarly, we will import one remaining file from that is also Excel type. So click on browse. Now this is Superstore data. We will bring that data. Make sure that you check mark use first row as column headers. Next. Again, you can preview and filter. Now this time you don't have table inside that sheet. You have just sheet name that is called dates and that $sign mark. So you need to bring that sheet which will contains the data. Click next, click close. Now we have the data. Okay. Now we will bring the data from other kind of a file. For example, in this case we have an Access file as well. So I will click on from database, then from Access, click on browse. Let's bring the Access data which contains the customers and orders data. Click on next. Now here you have the two choices. You need to select one of them. Either you can bring or import data from a list of tables and you can view and filter what kind of a data you want to choose to import, or you can write a specific query as well. So we will select the first option. We will use the interface to bring and import the data. Now in Access file we have two tables. The first one is for the customers and the second one is for the orders. Now it could be possible that there could be more than 2-3 tables, and when you want to decide that which tables needs to be import in this process, so the one of the help is to click on select related tables button here, and you need to select at least one table first, then you click on select related tables. So system can automatically detect if there is any kind of a relationship between these two tables. So how to identify a relationship? Because in this particular example, the customer ID is available in the customers table and as well as in the orders table. So one is the fact table, which is the orders table, and the customers table is a dimension table. So it is being working as a primary and foreign key altogether. So our relationship is there based on a customer ID. So it's necessary to import these two tables. Now, for example, in future, if you import some data from Excel file or from Access and you have some more than 5, 6 or 10 tables and you want to select, or you need to identify that what are those necessary tables which needs to import. So what you can do is you can just check one table and then click on select related tables, which helps you to identify the relationship. If it's necessary to bring, the system will detect automatically. Another feature which we have discussed about preview and filter, you can click on it and you can just customize according to your preference that which columns you need to import and which you want to exclude. Okay, so I will press OK, click on finish, and all the rows will get successfully imported into the Power Pivot window. Now you can see there are 5 tabs available, and this all data is came from different Excel files. The two of the sheets came from Access and the other are Excel workbooks. We have one more data type here. We will bring the data from a text file that we need to go to from other sources. Then I will click on text file, click on next, and I will browse that. So all the returns data is being stored in the text file. Click on open. Make sure that you check use first row as column headers. So text files are mostly by default tab delimited. So select column separator as tab. Okay. Some of the text file contains as a comma separator or a semicolon, a space colon as well, but most of them are tab delimited. Okay, and you can see that there are 2 columns, order ID and status, which is coming right into that appropriate columns. Click on finish to import the data and click on close now. So now we have finished importing all the data from different kind of files. That includes 3 Excel workbooks, 1 XS file and one notepad file, and you can see that this is a kind of a small data warehouse which we have created inside Microsoft Excel within Power Pivot window. So till here we will save our work. When you open this file next time, you will find that there is nothing inside Excel. So don't get confused because you are working inside the Power Pivot. So you have to again go to Power Pivot and click on Manage, and it will open up a new window, and here we have the data is being stored. Okay, so whatever the customizations you want to do backend, your data will be shown inside the Power Pivot window, not on the Excel interface. Okay, so don't get confused that I have imported the data and now it's being not showing in the Excel spreadsheet, because it's being stored inside the Power Pivot. So click on Manage and it will there for you, right? So let's proceed with the data modeling. We will be creating a star schema here, and then we will be applying some DAX. Okay, so now the next step is to proceed with the data modeling part, and for this we will go to Home tab, and now we will click on Diagram View. So currently we are in the data view, so we need to either create a star schema or snowflake schema, or need to see the model of the data, so we have to click on Diagram View. Alright, so now you can see we have imported all the data from different files as being shown as tables. So we will put them on one window, so we can just easily drag and drop them, and we will place the fact table in the center and placing the dimension tables around it, so it will looks like a star schema as we saw in the presentation just before I explain you. So we'll put them like this. Okay. So as you can see, there is already one relationship is being created between the orders and customers, because these two tables came from XS, and the customer ID is basically the common column which was available in both the tables. Don't assume that this particular line is going to customer name and this is going to SKU, so this is the relationship. No, is just a presentation, but when you hover your cursor on this particular line, it will automatically highlight those common columns which is being based and created a relationship. Now we want to make a relationship between the other tables, other dimension table, with this fact table, that is orders. So for the dates, we will pick the date and slightly drag and drop on this particular field in the orders table, that is order date. So this both the dates column will join together as one-to-many relationship. Okay. Then we have the order ID in the returns data. We will connect that with the orders table. Okay. Then SKU ID in the products table with the SKU field in the orders table. And then we will connect this regions table as well. So we will connect this province ID with the customers table, that is province. So two dimension tables can be connect with each other. Probably it looks like a star schema where there is one fact table and all others are the dimension tables, and we have created a star schema. Okay. So once we have confident that we have correctly created relationship between dimension and fact table and the schema is all about ready, so we will move to the data view again, and at the bottom this area we will start adding the explicit measures, and we will using the DAX in it to be placed in Power Pivot later on. So let's start. First we need to add two calculated columns. We have unit sell price, we have the discount column, we need a net sell price column, and then we need the order quantity to be multiplied by net sell price to have the order amount. So we will be adding two calculated columns for our further calculation, and then we will be moving towards those explicit measures. So how to add calculated column? Click on add column, go to formula bar, and here we will be writing that particular DAX. So first we will give that column, so we will define net sell price, then colon equal to, if you are using Power BI and in Microsoft Power BI, if you write the measure, you will not put the colon sign, but if you are using Excel Power Pivot, so you have to put this colon sign and then equal sign. Okay, so we will be starting with, we will round that number, and that will be unit sell price. So just press the tab key, it will write for you unit sell price multiply by 1 minus discount. Okay, and bracket close, comma 2, we need 2 decimal places which will be around that number. Press the enter key, that will create a column of net sell price, and this, as we know, that calculated column is a raw context. The calculation is going raw by raw, right? Another calculated column we will be adding here is for the order amount. So order amount colon equals to, that will be order quantity multiply by net sell price. All right, so press the enter key, and that has been created. Now we will going at the bottom, this is particular area where we can store all the explicit measures. So just below the order amount column, we will click on auto sum here. That will automatically sum this entire column, and it gives a name, that is sum of order amount, and sum function just you wrote in Excel. This is a similar kind of a function available in DAX language. So we will rename this explicit measure name as total orders $sign. Okay, dollar is just for the representation that it's in dollar amount. Okay, that's not a part of this particular syntax. Colon and equals to is a part of the syntax. Okay, dollar is just for the presentation. Press the enter key and just expand this column size. You can format this number as well, increase the decimal or decrease the decimal. So it's 14.7 million around total orders. Okay, all right, let's add one more explicit measure below it, or you can add anywhere like here or here. Okay, so now we will calculate the returns as well. So let's start calculating the returns amount. So how are we going to do that? First we will give a name to that explicit measure, that is returns $sign. Dollar is just for presentation, colon equals to, now we add one more DAX, this is known as calculate. You can understand this calculate DAX at this point of time just like you use sum-is function in Microsoft Excel. So in sum-is function you define the sum range, then you define the multiple criterias you would like to have, their ranges and their expressions. Similarly, sum-is, count-is you use in Excel, you can imagine that as calculate in DAX Power Pivot. Okay, so the first argument of calculate is expression, that what kind of calculation you want to perform. You want to extract the sum, count, average, min, max. Okay, so in the expression we will write either we can use this like sum of order amount, okay, this way, or as you know that the best part of explicit measure is that it can be reused. So we have that kind of expression of sum already being stored as total orders. So we can call that explicit measure inside another explicit measure. So you can see that we have this explicit measure total orders. Instead of writing that particular narration like sum of this table and then column, we have called an explicit measure. So definitely this expression will give our amount, but what we need to filter, which is the second argument of calculate, is we need all those orders which has been returned, which are available in the return table. Okay, we need to calculate that amount, and returns amount will be negative, so we will multiply it by -1. So we will say that we need to filter the table name is returns data, and we need to pick the status column where we have that keyword which is known as returned, and we need to multiply it by -1. So that will give us an amount of returns, okay, which is 1.6 million around. Okay, now we need to also calculate the total net orders. We need to subtract the returns amount from the total order, so that will give a net orders. So that's very simple. Let's go to formula bar, write net orders, that is in dollars, colon equals to, so we need to take the total orders then plus the returns. So we are not adding the returns because returns are already negative, so plus minus will be minus. Okay, just press the enter key. The amount is here. Let's close the decimal. Okay, let's close the decimal for this part as well. So it's 13.1 million, right? So we have total orders, returns, and net orders right here. We will be adding some more KPIs as well. Let's say we need to calculate how many products, distinct products are there. So let's add one more explicit measure, that is for count products. For that we will be using the DAX, which is known as count rows, and we have that table which is known as products. Okay, so basically we know that products is a dimension table, and dimension table contains all the unique records without any duplicates, and count rows basically count all the rows, all the numbers, total number of rows which is presented in a specific table. Okay, so I will press the enter key, and that is 1263 products are there. Okay, and these are distinct count, basically that does not include any kind of duplicates. Then we can calculate shipping amount. So we have the shipping amount column as well, so that will, so now we will calculate the average of order amount column. So it's like average orders amount, average of orders in amount which is in dollars equals to, so you can add average, and for this we have the orders table and we have the order amount column, bracket close. All right, so we have 6 different explicit measures you can see on the Power Pivot window. Now what we do is, this is basically a backend where we have imported all the data from different files. We have created the explicit measures, and we have also set up the data model as well, which is a star schema. Now after completing all these necessary steps, we will make sure that it goes now on the spreadsheet. So we will click on pivot table and click on pivot table, and we will say that make this power pivot on the existing sheet. Click OK, and it will create a power pivot for us. So now you can see that a difference between a normal pivot table and power pivot is that you will see these 2 tabs, active and all, and in the all you have these 5 data sets which are coming from different data files. You have all the fields here. On the back end, the schema is being made, and you can just drag and drop any field you want in the columns or rows or values, and you can start making your power pivots. So now in the next step we will be adding some charts and visualizations and KPIs. For that we need multiple power pivots. We will be doing that. Also we will be adding a new sheet that will be renamed as like dashboard, and the existing sheet will be renamed as workings, where all our workings will be there. Okay, so the next step would be let's build the interface of dashboard report design. So if you can see this solve file, I have added the shapes and I have colored them into blue color. This is the text box for the headings you would like to give. Again, these are the text boxes. The others are linked text boxes with the working sheet where we will be putting all our KPIs in different numbers. So let's create this kind of interface into this sheet. So this is very blank sheet of dashboard. So I will go to insert, I will click on shapes, and I will add a shape, and I will just draw it like this. Okay, and you can just add a 3D to it, or you can add some shape effects, or you can change the color, or when you are making a dashboard for your own organization you have to choose the theme colors, okay, of your organization. So I'm going with the blue color. Similarly I will add one more. I will go to shapes and add a text box, and I can write my heading as sales analytical dashboard. Right, now you can further customize this text box as well. You can just go to shape format and click on shape fill, no fill, shape outline, no outline. You can change the font color to white and make it bigger and make it center, so as you like the formatting. So I hope you got the idea that how it is being formatted, as you can see on this dashboard, right? Then I have added these slicers. So how to add them, slicers, let's do that. So I will go to my workings area where I have placed my power pivot. Okay, so when you inside your power pivot, you will find the analyze tab on top. Go to that, click on insert slicer, and if you find this blank, don't get confused, click on all, and from this dates table you have to add month, quarter and year slicer. Okay, so just click on it. It will add 3 slicer of year, quarter and month. Now you can see that we are getting just a month numbers here. We are not getting the slicer, if you can see on this particular file, as in with the description of Jan, Feb, March till December, right? So we need to correct this as well. We don't need this number wise months, we need description wise month. Okay, so for that I need to do some certain changes. I will go to power pivot, then I will click on manage. So when I go to my dates sheet, I can see that there is no column which contains the name of that month, so I will add a calculated column for that. So we will be using a DAX. First let's give a name to it, so it will be month names as a heading. Then colon equals to, we will add a format DAX. So we will say that go to the dates table, pick the date column and give a format in months name spelling. So we have put 3 times M. Just press the enter key and it will give you all the months name, right? Save this file and then go to Excel power pivot and update. So I will right click on it and I will say refresh. Okay, so I will delete this month number slicer. I will again go to analyze tab, insert slicer, and you can see there is a field called month name, so I will add this. Now another problem here is that we got the month names, but probably this is not in chronological order. This is in alphabetical order, like A to Z or Z to A. So we know that our calendars are chronological sorted, Jan to December or December to Jan, right? So for doing that, we will again go to power pivot, click on manage, and we do a slight correction here. So we will select the month names column and we will assign a value to each of the month on the back end with the help of a month number column. Okay, so for doing that, we selected the month names column. I will click on sort by column here, and we need to sort the month names based on a helper column, which is name as month, which contains a number of every month. So for each of the spelling here of the month will be assigned a value, so that sorting would be done easily and correctly as well. So I will press OK, and now when I go to again Excel, you can see that it has refreshed, and now it has been correctly placed here as a chronological order from Jan to December. Now we want to place these 3 slicers on our dashboard area, so I will press the Control key and select all the slicers. Now I will press Control X to cut these slicers and to place on my dashboard, Control V. Okay, now here it is. Now we need to do certain changes here. We need to place them not as a vertical but as a horizontal, just as you see here, right? So for doing that, it's very easy step. You click on the slicer, go to the slicers tab on top and increase the size of the column number. So for example, we have 4 fields here. We have choose 4 in the columns field. We can just resize. We don't need the header, so I will just right click. I will go to slicer settings on the bottom, and from this contextual from this menu or from this window, I will just uncheck the display header. Okay, and I can just resize it again and I can place it to the proper place where I want, right? Similarly, for the month names, we don't need this this vertical list. We want to make it horizontal. So again, on the slicer, we need to have 12, because there are 12 months, so we need to place them, and we need to resize them as well, so it should look neat and clean and proper. We don't need the header here, so right click, go to slicer settings, uncheck the display header. You can also change the color as well. Just go to slicer, and in the slicer styles you can select the dark or light color theme as well, right, and place it where you want. Similarly, for the quarters, we'll go to slicer tab, columns, we will select 4 here, and we can just resize it and hide the heading as well, right? So now we can place it. We just drag and drop, and it will take 1 or 2 minutes for you to place it properly, just like as we shown here. Okay, now we need all these KPI numbers which we have created. So for that, we will go to the workings area, and we have created all those explicit measures in the orders table. So you can see a small FX sign. So we'll place them one by one: total orders, returns, net orders, shipping amount, count of products, average orders. So all these numbers are there, but you can see that these are in full numbers. We need to show them on our dashboard as 14.7 million, or if there is a return, negative 1.6 million in brackets. So we will be doing custom formatting here for each of this item as we want to like to show. Okay, so let's proceed with that. Okay, so now let's do the custom formatting part to make this full amounts that are in millions. So make it shorter so that it will look neat and nice on our this dashboard. So now these are basically the shapes which has been formatted correctly and aligned, and these are the slicers, as you know. So let's get started with the numbers. So I will just right click on it, and from this contextual menu I will go to value field settings. This will open up a window. I will go to number format. This will open up an additional dialog window. Go to custom, and here you can do the settings for positive numbers, negative numbers, 0 and general. So the first section is for the positive numbers. So we will start with hashtag, which means any number, show with a decimal and 1 digit after it. We don't want the last 6 digits from this number, so we will place a 1000 separator, which is comma here, and we will add M here for representation of millions, so it converted as 14.7 million, as you can see here. This is the format. Okay, now I will press OK, and you can see it's 14.7 million. Now I will go to the dashboard, and I will insert a shape here, which is a text box. I will click on this text box. I will go to formula bar, and I will press equal sign. I will go to working sheet, and I will pick this header, which is total orders $sign. Okay, and I can just resize it and reorder their alignment, and I will place like here. I want to just mark it as no fill in the shape and no outline. Okay, and we can resize it. Now I will copy this object, and I will paste it again on my spreadsheet, Control C and Control V, and I will change the link here. So equals to working sheet. Now this time I will pick 14.7 million. Okay, one thing which you came across is that by default, when you link any cell from the pivot table, it generates a get pivot data function. So you need to disable that as well. For doing that, you need to go to Analyze tab and click on options, and make sure that there is no check mark on generate get pivot data. Okay, so that's how you can link this with a shape. Otherwise, what will happen? Let me show you a demonstration. For example, if I turn on this option, now if I go back to my dashboard and copy and paste that object, now I will go to formula bar equals to. When I get here, you can see it generates get pivot data kind of a function here, and when I press enter, it will show me this particular warning: this formula is missing a range reference or a defined name. So basically it will not get you to connect with this particular object or as a link. So what you need to do, go to workings, go to working sheet, then go to analyze. Within your pivot, this options, just click on it again so that it could be disabled, and now you can follow the same process. Go to formula bar, press equal sign, go to workings and link that cell. Now you can resize it, make it a bigger, bold, or any color you want to assign. Okay, so similarly, if you can see in my solve file, these all text boxes are basically linked with the Power Pivot, which shows you these different KPIs one by one. Okay, so let's do with the net orders and returns as well, and I hope that you will understand how we done net sale price, shipping amount, and count products. Okay, so let's go to our working file. Now we will make a copy of this existing object, copy, paste, and we will place something like here, equal sign, go to workings, and then now we have this returns amount, or you can say net orders. You can pick any one you like, again copy, then paste. Okay, then go to formula bar, equal sign. Okay, now it's showing the full amount because we will not format that on this object. We will go to this amount which is in Power Pivot, right click, again same procedure, go to value field settings, number format, go to custom and define that format which you require, and that is in million, right? For the negative amount, right click, value field settings, number format, custom, and here, because you know that the first section is for the positive numbers, so we just need to follow around for the negative number. So to move to one section from another section, we have to place semicolon. This means that the user needs to do the setting of the next section, that is for the negative numbers. So here we will put a round bracket. We need a negative number in a round bracket, hashtag for any number, or you can write 0.0 as you like. Then 1000 separator, we will add M here for millions and press OK. That's it. So now we will link this here as well. This is for the net orders. Then we will go for Control C, Control V. Now here we will put the returns. So again link with the working sheet, that is returns, and then the amount of the returns is 1.6 million. Select both, make it a bit bigger, and do the formatting as you like. Okay, right? So similarly, now you got the idea how these KPIs has been set on this particular dashboard, as you can see in this already solved file. So these are basically linked objects with the working sheet where are all the pivots showing the numbers, right? The next is how to create these charts. So let's do that as well. So I will go to my working sheet and I will select this existing pivot entirely. I will press Ctrl C and I will move some rows downwards and I will press Ctrl V. Okay, and now I will do some changes here. So we don't need all these fields, so we will just uncheck. So we will uncheck them. Okay, so this is blank now, and now what we are required here is, so we need total orders, or you can say net orders in the values, and then in the regions we will pick the province ID. Okay, so we have different provinces names and their net or according to net orders. So we will add a bar chart. So I will go to analyze, click on pivot chart, and let's add a bar chart to it. Now let's do some formatting. Let's learn some formatting. We don't need a legend, just click on it, press the delete key. We don't need this grid lines, just click and delete. We need to hide these buttons. Right click and click on hide all field buttons on the chart. You can just double click on the title and rename as top 5 provinces by net orders. Okay, this is the title. Now remember that in the bar chart, when you insert the sequence or the series, how the pivot is showing you the names is being opposite on the bar chart always. Okay, so you can see Alberta, British Columbia like this, and then it's end on Yukon, so it's being reversed. So we need to correct that as well. For doing that, right click, go click on format access, and here you will see a feature that is called categories in reverse order. So just click on it and also click on add maximum category. Okay, so now your chart is being corrected. We don't need horizontal axis, just delete that. Now we need to filter only top 5 according to the net orders amount. So I will click on this drop down and I will say value filters. You can see top 10 here. Click on it. You can either select top 10, bottom 10, bottom 5, top 5, any number you would like to have based on net orders amount, right? So when I click on OK, only now 5 provinces are being shown. Let's increase the width of these columns. For doing that, right click, format data series. You will see a gap with percentage. You need to decrease that. Okay, add the data labels. Right click, add data labels. Now it's showing full amounts. We just need to see them as in millions in the small amounts. So right click on these data labels, click on format data labels, and from here expand the number category, select custom, and you will have that format is already defined, so it's showing me small amounts which are easy to readable. Okay, now just resize them, this chart. Okay, and once your chart is being ready, also we need to sort that into largest to smallest. So for doing that, open this drop menu again and go to more sort options and click on ascending net orders dollar. Okay, let me do that as descending. Alright, so this is now correct, and just press Ctrl X to cut and go to dashboard and press Ctrl V to paste it here, right? So, and resize it according to your requirement as you like. So this is the first chart, right? Simultaneously, if I talk about the second, third, and fourth, so if we go to the solution, all these different power pivot has been made and different visualization has been selected for each of the chart. Okay, so let's do a couple of charts to be made here, and then I will conclude. So for doing that, now this is the existing pivot. I will select this entire pivot, power pivot, and press Ctrl C, and let's escape few rows and press Ctrl V. Now in the second chart, what we are required here is we need to clear all the filters first, and then we need to see the fields. So I will click on here, make sure that all is being selected. So product container wise, we will have that. So in the orders table, I will remove province ID and we'll have product container. So okay, and we will create again a bar chart for that. So pivot table analyze, pivot chart, and let's create a bar chart for that. And let's do all the formatting again. Hide these buttons, delete legends. Okay, yeah, these process you know already. Delete the horizontal axis, add the data labels, and then also to sort it like into Z to A, right? Or E to Z. Okay, they are basically being sorted like on the raw description wise, but we want as a net order. So we will go to more sort options and we select descending based on net orders amount. Okay, sending. Now one more thing is that we need to also rearrange the vertical axis as well. Right click, format axis, and categories in reverse order at maximum category. So this is how our chart is being corrected. Just click on data labels, right click, add data labels, expand the number, go to custom, and now it's showing me in millions. Double click the title and rename that as net orders by product container, right? Container. Increase the width of these column bars, so decrease the gap width percentage from here. Resize this as you like, press Ctrl X to cut this and put it on the dashboard, right? So this is as easy. If you are an intermediate Excel user and you create charts, you know how it's being working, right? Let's add 2 more charts to it, and we will be adding now 2 donor charts here, and you can already learn how to create a bar chart, and these are basically the column charts as well. Okay, so let's add chart total orders by customer segment. Okay, so for doing that, let's go to our main file where we are working. Okay, so again I will select this entire pivot table, copy, go to few rows below, paste it, and now from here I will exclude the product container, and I will go to the orders table where I can pick the segments if they have. Okay, so in the customers we have the customer. Okay, in the customers table we have the customer segment, and here it is. So we will go to analyze pivot chart, and this time we will select the pie chart. Okay, and it's basically a donut chart, kind of a pie chart, but it's a donut chart. So what we'll do, we will do some formatting here. So hide all these buttons. We need to define the colors, so we will go to design tab and click on change color. So let's have a good theme color. Increase the width, format data series, so donut whole size, okay, like this. Adding the data labels, so right click and add data labels. Okay, and again select the data labels, right click, add format data labels, and it should be in small amounts, in millions. Okay, let's change the font color to white, make it bold, a bit larger. We need this legend, but not on the right side, we need at the bottom. So click on plus sign and click on legend at the bottom. We need, let's rename the title as net orders by customer segment, right? And you can just resize it as well. Now let's resize this chart. Let's make this header a bit small, so go to home tab, decrease the font size. That's it. Now this, if this is ready, then click Ctrl X to cut this and paste on the dashboard and place it where you like, something like this. Okay, now when you click on any of the year, you can see all your charts and KPIs is being updated, right? That's great. And if you click on any month slicer, it's being also updating dynamically. So how it's going on the back end, so let me give an idea, because you know that every pivot table has its own memory cache in Excel, and we have created multiple pivot tables by copying and pasting, and just we changed the fields and created some visualizations. Okay, so one thing here which is very important, and you need to remember that on the back end all the pivots has been connected with the slicer. How to check that? Just right click on the slicer, from this contextual menu click on report connections, and you can see so far all the pivots has been check marked. So this means technically when we click on any of the slicer, all the pivots being filtered on that particular field, and all the visualizations being updated because numbers gets updated. Similarly, if you see another slicer, go to report connections, and you can see with this particular slicers all the pivot tables has been check marked, which means if I select any of the month in the slicer, on the back end all the pivot tables make filter themselves on that particular time period, and when the data gets changes so these visualizations and numbers gets changed. Okay, so after adding the third donut chart, we will add one more visual. So we will go to our existing pivot, power pivot, copy that, go to some rows below, paste, and we will do some certain changes to it. So this time we will be making a net orders by ship mode. So for doing that, we will eliminate customer segment, and from the orders table we will have the ship mode, and we will drag and drop it, and we will add a donut chart to it. So analyze, pivot chart, and go to pie chart and select donut chart. Here it is. So do the formatting which is necessary for doing it. Legend at the bottom. You can rename the title as net orders by ship mode. Let's do the formatting. So go to design and select the color, right click, format data series, decrease the donut hole size, and also to add the detail labels, right click, add detail labels, make them into small. So go to number and custom. Okay, let's make it white, a bit bold, and do the resizing of this chart. Press Ctrl X to cut, and let's paste that on the dashboard. Okay, and place it whatever you like. Now you can see all the slicers is being working absolutely fine because report connections have been made. Okay, if you select any of the field within the slicer and you now want to select all of them, there are two methods. The first one is right click, and from here click on clear filter from here, so it will clear all the filters. Or you can just click on the first field and press the shift key and then the last field, and it will select all of them. So there are two methods, whatever you like. Then if I conclude this dashboard, now this particular dashboard has basically 8 different visualizations. 4 we have created 3 KPIs, as you can see here on this particular file, but you got the logic that how this entire dashboard has been completed. You can add order amount by product category, you can add product category by count, orders amount by region. So you have to select the appropriate visualization for the fields so that the user of the dashboard can see it and take the decision accordingly. The final step is to bring and apply the crop rule, which we are applying here, and this formatting part usually takes 30 to 40 minutes additional to complete it, or there are any certain changes that will take an additional time. So I hope you like this video, comprehensive video, that how we created this entire sales analytical dashboard with the help of Power Pivot, where we have learned a lot of new concepts, and I hope that you will like and share this video with your colleagues as well. Do share as much as you can, that will be highly appreciated, so that more people and more professionals can learn and do some different kind of reporting at their workplace. Please do subscribe my channel Excel Basement on YouTube. You can follow Excel Basement on Facebook as well. You can visit my website, that is rahimzulfikarali.com. I will be uploading these kind of videos more in future. If you like it, and share it, and thank you. Take